Hello everyone! Welcome to an episode of Animal Crossing where I show you guys my house. You may be wondering why in the world is this video like 40 minutes long if all I'm doing is showing you guys my house. That's because I'm also going to be redesigning my house. We don't get to everything in this, but we do get to most of it. So, yeah, this is my living room. Welcome. It's a cluttered mess. There's a lot of stuff happening. There's really no organization to it, but that was my living room. Up next is the kitchen, which is really super fun. I gave it some groovy tunes, and I have like this reddish, green, brown kind of a theme going on, but I think I changed that in the future. I'm pretty sure I do. But yeah, this is my kitchen. It's kind of plain. It's missing one of the chairs in the set, so I still need to get one of those, but yeah, this is what it is. And onward, we are going into the office, which is also a huge cluttered mess. But yeah, I have like 2 desks. I have a bed on the floor that you can use to sleep when you've been like studying too hard or working too hard. I have 2 desks because I couldn't decide which desk I wanted, and so I decided one of them was going to be for like typing, and the other one was going to be strictly for like writing. So I have a writing desk, and then I have like a typing desk. And otherwise I think I just tried to decorate it, but like it seems both cluttered and very plain for me, that room. A lot of my house areas are kind of like that, where they don't really have a theme that matches with everything, just because like things are really crazy and stuff. And also, this is all just stuff that I've picked up over time and just placed it in rooms. So this is my bathroom, where nothing really matches. I do remember trying to have like a white and dark brown theme. You can see I have 2 shower heads because I didn't know what to do. But yeah, I have a nice kimono in there, which is really nice. I tried to make it kind of like a spa sort of a thing too, so I have like the zen bed that's right there. I have the little diffuser and everything. But this room also seemed kind of plain. Also, this room doesn't have any music because I ended up like removing the thing that made music, whatever it was. I think it was the shell radio I had in there originally, and I just removed it for whatever reason. So now we're going downwards into the den, or the basement, whatever you want to call it. And this was just kind of like a free-for-all room. I didn't know where to put the gyroids, so I put them in here. Same thing goes with my fish. I didn't know where or how to display my fish, but those are like my 3 favorite fish. I have the little doll stand. I've got the nice little suitcase and this cool like desk and chair thingy. But yeah, this was kind of like my I don't know where to put things, so I'm gonna put them in this room kind of a room. And then some of like those umbrellas and the axe that are on the floor, those used to be in my pocket. Now they're not. I just never put them away. So yeah, that's the basement for now. And upwards we go into my bedroom. This is my bedroom. I remember when I first started, I wanted it to be very goth themed, so I have like the black parquet floors and the skulls on the wall and everything, but I also really liked the antique imperial zen sort of a theme. So I kind of tried to mix both of them, and in my opinion, it didn't really work super well. I mean, it could have, but meh. I also had this bath, the cedar bath, I think it's a cedar bath, and like, I just didn't know where to put it, so I put it here in my bedroom, because my bedroom was huge, and I was like, I don't have enough space in the bathroom anymore, so I'm just gonna put it in the bedroom. Same thing with the plants. I had no idea where to put those plants, so I just like put them there. But I do have some of the cat stuff. I've got the cat bed, which is actually a chair for the animals, which I didn't know until Happy Home Paradise when one of them sat in it, and I was like, oh, that's what? So fun stuff. And I have the cat tree. So I in my world have a pet cat, which might be a little weird if any other cat animals visit my house, or just any of the other animals in Animal Crossing visit the house. But that's my house. There we go. Time to pick up stuff like a fool. I started out by putting everything in my pockets because I wasn't really thinking when I was doing this. So I just shoved everything into my pockets at the beginning, which means none of that stuff that I just picked up is used later on in this video, because I forgot that when you put it in your pockets, they don't end up in your like inventory that you can pick from. But yeah, eventually I remembered like, the easy way to pick things up is like this. But I was still kind of a fool because I was doing it one by one, and I do it one by one for basically the rest of the house instead of just doing the holding R and selecting multiple ones like it says, because I didn't read that and I didn't know that was a thing until I saw a video where someone did that. I'm a fool. It's okay. So yeah, here I go, picking stuff up. It's fun. In the meantime, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays! This is actually the third time I'm recording this video because something keeps going wrong with my audio for some reason. I think it's I want to say it's my recording software. It's like if I use it for too long, if I have it open for too long, I've had too many video files in there, it starts mixing them up somehow. So like, the last time that the first time I recorded this, I just wasn't happy with the recording, so I decided to re-record it. Second time I recorded it, super duper happy with it, but then for some reason it was giving me audio files for Inscription, which is no longer on here. It's no longer on my, like, I don't have it as a file in here anymore, but I haven't deleted it off of my computer yet either, so I think it was pulling from that, and it sounded very weird and I couldn't fix it, so here's try number 3! Yay! But yeah, I figured I'd do like a nice kind of relaxing, calm, holiday-ish video. It's not really holiday themed, obviously. Although I tried, I'm playing some snowy music from Undertale, because I like it. So yeah, just wanted to get that whole thing out of the way so that you guys know what's up. That's what's up. In Pokemon, there's still a few episodes left of Pokemon also. By the time that I post this, I think it lasts almost till the end of the year, or at least till the end of the year, or something like that. But I've completed my playthrough of Pokemon by the time I'm recording this. It's all done. And in it, I think I mentioned that I really wanted to play Ocarina of Time, and I was really excited to play it because it's on my Switch. But I have to let you guys know that that's not going to happen, and the reason why, here, I figured it out, look at that. The reason why is because I have already recorded one episode of Ocarina of Time, and the controls for aiming, for like the arrows and the slingshot and probably the boomerang also, are inverted, which my brain just cannot comprehend. I can't do inverted controls. But you can't change that. You can't change the controls at all on the Switch. So whoever the heck mapped the controls from the old N64 controller onto the Switch is a darn fool, because it just doesn't work. It really just doesn't work. Like, I would have done it differently. And I wish that you could, like, change how the controls are mapped, but apparently you can't, and you can't uninvert the controls either, which is a shame, because that means that I can't play that game. Because of that, I got as far as Goma, and I tried fighting Goma, and with the inverted aiming controls, I just couldn't. I was getting really frustrated, I was getting really upset with it, I just couldn't do it. And if it's not fun for me, I don't think it's gonna be that fun for you guys. So I decided not to play Ocarina of Time on the Switch, unless maybe I try playing through it and get some practice with it, but like, I'm not gonna do that and record it, so at least not anytime soon are you guys going to get an Ocarina of Time playthrough from me. Which I apologize about, but I will still try to do some other kind of Zelda playthrough. I kind of want to see if I can connect my Wii U onto here, because I have Minish Cap on there, I have Twilight Princess, and I have Wind Waker on there. So if I can somehow find a way to connect my Wii U, that would be awesome. If not, there is a Link to the Past that I can still try and play on the Switch. And then, obviously there's Breath of the Wild, but I also have Breath of the Wild on my Wii U, not on my Switch, because I didn't have a Switch when it first came out. I had the Wii U. But I have Hyrule Warriors on my Switch, so yeah. And then I also have, God, what the heck is it called? It's the one I hate the most. Skyward Sword. I also have Skyward Sword on the Switch, which I still hate. I'm so sorry. Like, that's kind of popular but unpopular opinion. The controls, I think, got better. I just find that Zelda game in particular to be really boring, so I don't like it because of that. But I could play any of those potentially if I can get some of them hooked up. But for now, no Ocarina of Time, so sorry. Let's talk about New Year's plans and goals and such. So, you guys don't have to have any plans or goals if you don't want to. But I do. And I do like to try and, like, have people at least think about something that they want to do. So if thinking of the whole year, things you want to do in the whole year is too big, then just try and think, like, okay, what do I want to do for the first 2 or 3 months? Because that's kind of what I'm doing. And, like, when I was trying to plan my year off, thinking about it as a big whole year, I was like, this is a little too intimidating. But when I cut it down into sections, I started by doing it with a month. And then from there I was like, okay, well, I don't think a month is enough time to do some of these things, so what if I did 3 months? And so that's how I figured out my quarterly schedule. So every 3 months I'm focusing on certain things. And the Artist of Life workbook actually really helped me to break it down even more into, like, weekly things that I want to try and focus on. And some of them are so constant, like doing yoga every day and exercising every day, that I don't really need to break those things down anymore. But for instance, one of my goals for this next quarter in the year, and in my year off, is to work on my novel that I really want to write. I've had a story in my head since, like, high school, and I really, 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 really want to work on it, and I want it to be a thing. Whether or not it gets published is a totally different story. I just want to write it, because then at least I have it out, and it's out there. But to start with that, like, I kind of tried to do the whole NaNoWriMo thing this year, and it didn't work because I did not plan enough. And so I figured if I spent, like, 2 months planning, then I think I'd be good. So I broke it down in a way where, let me actually look at it. It's right in front of me. Let's see. So sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Yeah. So in January, I have planned novel, work on characters and world building. In February, I have outline plot and create very rough first draft. And then in March, I have personal NaNoWriMo. So that's where I will attempt to write it down in a month. And so then weekly breakdown for that. In January, the first 2 weeks, I'm working on characters, just characters. So I'm going to be spending like 2 or 3 hours each day just working on my characters and building them and developing them a little better. And like their desires and figuring out who they are, because I have ideas in my head, but things keep changing, which is fine, because that's how the writing process goes. That's how any kind of creative process goes. You think of things and then, you know, you edit those things to fit, and then something else changes, and that changes the next thing, and it's like, oh my gosh. So it's definitely a lot of work, and if necessary, I can change this. So I can do this over 4 or 5 months instead of just 3, but my goal is to try and do it in the 3, so we'll see. But yeah, and then so the first 2 weeks would be characters, the next 2 weeks would be world building, And then after that, I haven't planned anything just because I don't know how well January will go. But if it does go well, then obviously I'll move on to plotting everything and doing like a very rough draft where instead of being super detailed with what's happening, I just kind of write what is happening in each chapter, and then hopefully by then in my final draft I can make it like all pretty and flowery and whatever. So that's my plan for that part. That's one of them. Keep crocheting. So I do want to continue crocheting. Crocheting is something that I actually really like doing. I started out by knitting, and knitting was fun. Don't get me wrong, I really like knitting, but knitting seemed to be slightly more difficult in a way. Like when I started crocheting, it seemed really difficult because it was very different from knitting. But now that I've been crocheting, I'm like, this is way easier. Somehow it's way easier than knitting, but they also use different stitches, so I wouldn't mind getting back into knitting, but for now I'm gonna do crocheting. I'll talk more on crochet projects that I want to do, but that is something that I want to continue doing. Doing yoga and cardio every day. So previously it was yoga and exercising every day, but I've since edited that to just cardio because my original goal was to do 10 minutes of cardio, 20 minutes of like some targeted area, so like 10 minutes abs, 10 minutes legs or whatever, and then 30 or 40 minutes of yoga. That was my original intention. And I've been trying to do that for this entire first quarter, and it's not working, which is totally fine. It just means that I have to kind of move things around and rethink things, and so I have. And one of the things that I have rethought about was just doing cardio. So just focusing on the cardio, because I found this video by MadFit, which is it's a 10-minute cardio video, and right now I can't even do the 10 minutes because I'm just so out of shape. So I can't even do the 10 minutes in that video, which is fine. I'm doing half of it because it's basically one segment of 5 moves that you do twice, and it fills up the 10 minutes. And doing the just doing the 5 minutes is really difficult for me right now. But after I did that first video, like I did the whole thing, and my legs were killing me to the point where I couldn't even do yoga because I could barely walk because my muscles were just so sore the next day that I could barely move. I just like sat down most of the time. But I didn't like that. I didn't like that I worked out so hard that I could not do anything for like the rest of the week. I couldn't do yoga or anything. Like I just had a really hard time moving around after that. So I decided to cut that in half, and I'm going to continue building on it. So I do want to do the cardio because I figure doing the cardio, if it made my muscles hurt that badly, like my my calves, my thighs, my booty, it even made my abs and my arms hurt because of some of the moves that you're doing. If it's giving me kind of that full body workout anyways, then I can just continue doing the cardio, and it's a targeted full body workout as well as cardio in that case. So I figured if I just continue doing this video over and over again, at least for now, until I start like building up enough stamina and strength and everything, then this will be the way that I should do it. I should just focus on the cardio with the added benefits of whatever else it's doing to my body, and then do yoga after that. So, and then again, just build up to it. So right now I'm only doing half of that video. I'm building up to being able, like there's a part, it's the second move where it's mountain climbers, which are terrible. I hate them. But the mountain climbers are the only move right now. You're only doing them for 45 seconds, but the mountain climbers are the hardest move for me to do, and I've had to stop every single time so far. This is only like the 5th time I've done the video, but I've had to stop in the middle of mountain climbers every single time because it's the hardest move for me to do. So once I can build up enough stamina where I can do it just fine, where I'm not like struggling to breathe too much, where I don't have to stop, where I'm a little more comfortable doing it, my body's a little more used to doing it, then I'm gonna start adding on the second moves, like doing the moves a second time, and I'll just very slowly add those on. And then do yoga, and then eventually, hopefully, I will be able to continue to move on with my plan of doing cardio for 10 minutes, doing targeted moves for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then doing yoga. So we'll see how that goes, but that's kind of my plan for the next quarter in this beginning of the new year, the next 3 months after December, is to just kind of slowly build up my physical stuff. Let's see, read more is another task that I want to do, and this one is still, it was one of my goals for this first quarter, I guess. And I did pretty good with it, but not superb. Like I think I read maybe like 4 or 5 books, which is a lot more than I had read in the past. Because previously I wasn't reading even a single book each month. So the fact that in 3 months I've already read like 4 or 5 books, that's like 1 book a month at least, I think that's pretty good. I would love to be able to read more, obviously, but I'm also doing a lot of other things like recording constantly and editing, which takes a lot of time, working on yoga, mental health, crocheting, like all of these other things that I am doing means that I don't have a lot of time for reading, but I do still want to make it a priority. So reading is still another thing that I want to do, and maybe do a book club, but that's something that I would need to tinker with and think about for a little bit. If you guys would like to do a book club, that would be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind that. And like we can all decide books together, what we want to read, and then discuss them. And leading into that, figure out how to stream is another thing that I want to do. Because like on why am I blanking on what it's called? On Twitch. I would love to learn how to stream on Twitch, and some people might be like, oh, that's super easy, but I'm not really tech savvy, so I don't know how to do it yet. And I remember attempting to kind of figure it out in the past and it not going super well, so I would definitely need some assistance with that. But I'll do my own research for that. If you guys have any tips or tricks, let me know for sure, but like otherwise I'm just going to do a lot more research, and I'm probably not going to be streaming anytime soon. But I would like to learn how to do it eventually. And if we did stream, then I could do like a once or twice monthly stream video, where we can discuss books that we're reading, or a book that we're reading if it's a book club or what have you. So yeah, I think I would like to do a little more reading and have a little more book content that I can release, because I do really like books also. I just have a really hard time reading them due to, you know, things and brain things that get in the way constantly. But yeah, so that is one thing I want to do, work on my novel, obviously. That's basically it. Just crocheting, yoga and cardio, reading more, working on novel, learning to stream. Those are like my 5 main goals for this first quarter. And 5 of them seems kind of daunting for sure, some of them, but like I've also already started doing some of these. So like the crocheting and the reading and yoga were like the things that I wanted to do in this whole quarter that is coming to an end right now. And I've been doing those, so I'm very proud of that, and now I'm just kind of building onto it. So I've added a couple more things, I'm building onto it, and I want to keep kind of going with that momentum, with that flow. Let's talk more in depth about the crochet projects that I want to try. So crochet projects I've done already. I made a boo sheen, that's what it's called. It's the ghost pushing thingy that I think I showed off in that one video where you can actually see my face. I did the cardigan, which took way longer than I thought that it would, but yeah, I did the cardigan for myself, which isn't completely done, by the way. I did talk, I know for sure I talked about it more in that video, so if you guys want to know like what I intend to do more with that cardigan, check out that video. I'll try and, I don't know, do the little card thingy or link it in here somehow. But yeah, so I do talk about my crochet things that I have done so far there, except one because I just finished it a couple days ago. And that is a nice little blue whale amigurumi guy. So yeah, I've done my second amigurumi, and now I have plans to do other things. One of those other things that I want to do is make a cat beanie for my mom. She really wants one, so it's just a beanie, but it has little kitty ears on there. Also, why don't they have that in Animal Crossing already? Because that would be just so freaking cute for these guys. Anyways, so yeah, I do want to do a cat beanie. I've already found a couple of different patterns for it. I just have to like figure out what yarn I want to use for it and then make it. I want to learn how to make socks because I do have some thinner yarn that I need to use anyways, and I think it would be really nice also just to be able to make my own socks, because socks are really difficult for me to find that like fit me well because I have oddly tiny feet. And with my socks and my gloves, which gloves are another thing that I want to make, but both socks and gloves, I have a very, very difficult time finding things that fit me in general with all clothing, but like socks are either too long or they're too short, and it really depends on if you get like adult size or kid size. I'm too small for adults, but I'm too big for children, so like they just don't fit me properly. And the same thing goes with gloves. If I buy like kids gloves, because I have tiny hands too because I'm a tiny human, if I buy kids gloves, they're usually a little too small, so like the part where your fingers meet and you have that little curve in the gloves, those will be much higher than they should be. They'll be at like my first knuckle, when they should not be there. So they're typically either a little too small, or if I buy like the adult size ones, then the fingertips are too long. So they just don't make tiny adult human clothing. Don't know why, but whatever. So yeah, socks and gloves are definitely a thing I want to learn how to make. I want to learn how to make some like actual finger gloves. I want to do fingerless gloves. And then I'd like to do mittens also, because I think that would be really nice. A bralette I would like to do. I don't like wearing bras, but I do like bralettes if I need to wear them. So typically especially because I'm home a lot, I just don't wear anything, just a shirt, because like, why? Bras are really uncomfortable. If you guys have never worn a bra, don't. They're not fun. Or do, just to experience it, but they suck. But getting like a bralette that doesn't have any kind of clasps or anything like that, and it's not like pinching into your skin or anything, those are really nice. I really like those. And so typically my bralettes are cropped tank tops, essentially, is what they are, so that I have like a layer of coverage in a way, because nipples are apparently very offensive. So yeah, I just have like a layer between my regular chesticle and the shirt to kind of make those not as sticky outy. But like otherwise I have cute little bralettes, or I just wear sports bras, which are also not really that comfortable because those ones like squeeze you. But like for me, if I'm going out, it's better than nothing, just because of the stigma of nipples, and it makes me really uncomfortable anyways to have people looking at me like that. It's just not fun. Free the nipple, guys, come on. But yeah, so little bralettes, I think it would be really nice to do that, because then I could make them custom fit to me and my size, and also, I don't know, I could just wear them whenever. And they'd be actually comfortable because they'd be fitted to me, and then I wouldn't have to buy anymore at all. I could just make them for me, for my ever-changing body. Let's see, amigurumi stuff. Obviously, I want to continue doing amigurumi. I really, really enjoy it. I really would like to perfect it. One of the main things that I have trouble with is like putting my ends in properly, because if it's on like a garment of clothing, it's flat. You don't have anything that's stuffed, and so you can weave them in really easily. But with amigurumi, because it's rounded and it's stuffed, and usually you're kind of like attaching parts to other parts or something like that, there's usually some little catch that's going on there. It seems like it's a little more difficult. Like maybe I need to get a hooked little, what are these things called? A little hooked needle, because the straight ones are not really doing it for me right now, especially when the amigurumi object is curved, like the whale that I recently made. It was just really hard to get certain things tied in a nice way that like looked nice, in a way that didn't look super amateur. So I need to work on that for sure. So amigurumi, I want to keep doing it. It's really fun, and I love stuffed animals anyways, so now I can make my own. I just have to buy the right materials and have fun, go at it. So yeah, I want to keep doing that. In particular, I kind of want to make a unicorn because my niece is really into unicorns right now. And then I really want to figure out how to make sable, and I figure if I continue doing amigurumi, even if it's not exactly the ones that I want, if I continue doing it, then that's just more practice for me, and then I can kind of figure out the way that some of the stitches work all together, and like how to increase and decrease properly, and how often increasing and or decreasing in a work can make certain shapes. And then that way, if I can't find a pattern that I like for like making sable or anything or anyone else, then I can just kind of figure it out on my own. So that's kind of my hope, is that if I continue doing this, then with experience I will be able to make my own patterns, and I think that would be really cool. So those are basically my crochet projects that I want to do like right now. And then books. Let's talk books real quick. So I have a lot of books that I want to read. There's a bunch more books that I didn't list on here that are on my shelf. And I should read them eventually, but they're not like the ones that I want to read immediately, and I might not ever read them. I'm going to be going through a lot of my possessions and things in January and getting rid of a lot of stuff. I do this like every year. So I'm going to do like the KonMari thing again, and I'm going to just get rid of stuff. So we'll see what books remain, but the ones that will remain for sure are the Hunger Games series. So I really want to reread the Hunger Games series. Last time I read it, I was 24, and I was on my way to Washington, which is where I live now. So I was on the plane going to Washington when I read the Hunger Games. I can't remember if it was the first time I had ever read the Hunger Games, or if it was just the first time that I like read it on a plane, or what. I don't really remember. I don't really remember the first time that I read it. I want to say it was the first time I read it. I definitely didn't read it in high school, because it came out like around the same time as like Twilight and stuff, and I was so over Twilight that I was like, I don't want to do another one of these series things. I'm just gonna skip it. And I can't remember why, but I did end up reading the Hunger Games, but I remember reading it on the plane, like coming to Washington, and I remember falling in love with it and wanting to read the second book, so I ended up buying the second book here in Washington, and then I think I ended up getting the third one also here. So I want to say that I either read it once before that plane ride and just didn't feel it the first time, or that was the first time that I read it and that it really just hit me. But at 30, with everything that's happened, with just everything in my life and with society and outside world and everything else, the Hunger Games movies hit really hard for some reason. So I definitely want to reread the books and see how they hit me this time, because I cried a lot during the movies. And like, I really related a lot more to some of the things that were happening in it. Because maybe it's because I've discovered that I also suffer from PTSD, not because of war, but because of other things. So I definitely related to a lot of what was shown in there, like mental health wise, that they were struggling with. So yeah, I don't know. It just really hit me really hard. It hit close to me. So I really want to reread it and see if it's still as good as I remember it being, and or if it's still as good as the movies, which I think it's better than the movies, but we'll see. Dancing on the Edge by Han Nolan is another book that I really want to read. It's one of my favorite books. I've been reading it for like a decade. No, more than a decade now. I think I read that book in high school too. But it's about this girl, Miracle, who she was born from the body of a dead woman because her mother gets hit by a car. I can't remember if it's a bus or an ambulance, but she gets hit by a car while she's pregnant with Miracle, and her mother doesn't survive, but Miracle does, which is why she's named Miracle. And so, like, the grandma is one of the main characters in it, and she's very mystical and magical and everything. Like, the book opens with them doing a seance to try and contact the mother. The father, whose name is Dane, is a writing prodigy, and so, like, the grandma's always on him about that, and because the grandma is his mother, so she's always, like, pushing him to try and write, and like, oh, you haven't written a novel in so long, but you're such a prodigy, I know you can do it, whatever. So one day Dane melts. And because Miracle is like 9, she's like 8 or 9, maybe 10 tops. And this book goes until she's like 13 or 14. Because it's narrated by a child, she doesn't fully understand what's happening, I think, but she believes that Dane melts. Because there is a pile of his clothes as if he melted in them and he just melted away. So like if he was just standing there and then his body melted but his clothes stayed, that's kind of what it looks like. So she believes that he melted. Her mother is obviously dead, and so now she's living with her grandmother, who is very mystical and magical, and she too then also believes in magic, and so there's a lot of talk about magic in the book. And it's really just a book where she's trying to discover who she is, and a lot of her identity is centered around her parents, because her parents are talked about so much. Her dead mother, like born from the body of a dead woman, what a miracle, and then her father, who is just like so skilled and talented, and she's trying to figure out like, well, what's my skill and talent? Maybe it's magic, maybe I'm like grandma and I have magic too, and all that kind of stuff. But it's very dark too, though, because it deals a lot with mental health, particularly her mental health, and yeah, it gets really sad at one point, but it's a really, really, really good book. It's like one of my favorite books of all time. So, just an amazing, fantastic book. The ending is great. It deals with mental health, but it's also got magic in there, and like family relations and just all kinds of stuff. It's so good. It's got such a good ending too. I just love that book. So I really want to reread it, especially now that I'm more in tune with my mental health, I guess. I understand it a lot better, like what's happening with me, that I feel like I might view the book differently also. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of experience that would be. There is, I just call it the Raven series by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm hoping I say that right, but the first one is the Raven Boys, and then there's like 3 more after that, and so I'm planning on reading those, because I have the entire series, and I've been wanting to read the entire series, I just haven't, so I really want to read that one. My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones is another one that I really want to read. I think that one was in my Halloween book club Facebook group that I'm part of. I've never actually taken place in the book club, but like they talk about books all the time, and they're mostly horror books, so yeah, I really, really, really want to read it because it was in there. So My Heart is a Chainsaw, want to read that one. The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix is another one I've been meaning to read. That one just released this last year. Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. I remember watching the Odd Thomas movie, and I really, really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really great, and I don't know how accurate it is to the book, but it made me interested enough. So when I was like, oh, it is a book, that's rad. Oh, it's by Dean Koontz, that's interesting. I've never read a book by him, but I know that he's everywhere because I remember having to stock all of his books. I forget what they called them, but they're on those little twisty shelves, little turny shelves, little tiny paperback ones. But like he had so many books on those racks, like oh my god, I just remember stocking those all the time. So I plan on reading a book by Dean Koontz. Never thought that would happen. There is Spontaneous by Aaron Starmer, which is also a movie that I originally watched, and then when I discovered that it was a book, which isn't really like anything new, most movies are made from books nowadays, but when I discovered that it was a book, I was like, okay, well, I really loved the movie, and I know that the book is different from the movie, at least in like what the main character looks like, because I remember watching the movie and then looking up the book and seeing that the main character looks totally different from how they did, like from book to movie. They look totally different. Don't know why they changed it that way, but they did. Not the point though. The point is that it seemed like a really good book because I really enjoyed the movie, and even if it would be different, I think that it still would be enjoyable. So definitely want to read that one. Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix I want to read. He is one of my favorite horror authors, for sure. But Paperbacks from Hell is not a fiction book. It's him talking about other horror books, from what I understand. Whereas, like, the other novel that I mentioned, the Final Girl Support Group, is a fiction novel that he's written and released. And I've read all of his books so far besides those two, and I really like him, so I do want to read Paperbacks from Hell. I think it would be fun. And then Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff is another one that I want to read. I know there's the HBO series, but I haven't seen it yet because I don't have HBO. If only they would release it on like Netflix or Hulu or something, but yeah, it's supposed to be spooky and kind of cool, so that's another one that I'm really interested in reading. And obviously I'm still reading Don't Fucking Panic. This one's gonna take me like such a long time to read, just because it is taking in all of that like mental health information and doing the little workbook sections that they have in there. It's a lot sometimes, so I've been doing it a lot more recently. I'm like almost halfway through the book now, but like, yeah, it's a lot, so that one's probably gonna take me like a few more months just to get. But yeah, this was my redecorating of my house. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know what to do with this room, and I don't know what to do with the upstairs room, so those two I will do next time, whenever I figure out what to do with them. And I do think that I don't know what to do with them. I do think that I want to record the other two also, but let me know if you guys want to see them or not, because right now they're just empty rooms. But yeah, that was everything. Thank you guys for joining me on this quest to redo the interior of my house. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and a wonderful new year. And I will see you guys on the next video, whatever it may be. Bye!